Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, February 1st, 2026. Abby went from wearing a fabulous white fur coat to wearing a boring oatmeal sweatsuit. I feel like that tells the whole story right there. Enough said. Life is cruel. Ugh. I feel agony for Abby and Devon. Absolute agony, and especially Abby. Melissa Ordway has been so good this week and so heartbreaking and just so believable too. My daughter wanted to go outside to play in the snow this week, and I took her aside and said, honey, okay, but don't talk to anyone. I'm not kidding you. The day after the kidnapping, that's what I said to her. Which, I mean, it's one thing to say don't talk to strangers, but Dom knows Mariah. That's what's extra scary about it. And let me tell you, I stood there watching my daughter play in the snow at the window, watching her like a hawk, like I was expecting Mariah to come around the corner or something. This is truly just terrible. It is just terrible, and it does not help that the little actor playing Dom is so cute and so innocent, and I just want him to punch Mariah in the throat and run away. It is awful. It is extra awful watching Mariah have to try to keep up the game of it all, trying to gamify it all, to try to make it seem playful and normal and happy and fun. Hide and seek and I spy. All the while, Ian Ward is coaching her in her own mind on how to tell Dom eventually that his parents just don't want him anymore. I'm speechless. He justified it all by saying, well, Dom will believe it eventually because all children believe deep down that eventually their parents will abandon them. It is just so sick and so twisted, and I hate it. But luckily, I think the whole thing might just be wrapping itself up soon, because scarves and gloves are dropping all over the place. These people cannot seem to keep their winter wear on. But thank goodness Mariah dropped that heart scarf right in the front lawn. I don't even know how that's possible. How could that huge scarf just slide right off without her noticing it? Of all the unbelievabilities here, I'm stuck on that one. Devon and Abby went to the coffee house this week, and they ran in to Tessa. And Tessa recognized the scarf immediately. It's one of a kind. She had it made for Mariah, and she took it up to the mental hospital to Mariah. So there is no other explanation for how it would have gotten from there to Genoa City to the Chance Manch front lawn. That's it. By the way, they need to have some extra security cams installed at the Chance Manch ASAP, Mariah just so happened to be standing in the one blind spot that figures. Ugh. If I were Tessa, I would be running home right now to sweep Arya up into my arms, and I would not let her out of my sight. Arya's in danger too, as far as I'm concerned. You just never know what Ian's gonna tell Mariah to do next. As soon as Tessa recognized the scarf, though, Devon called the police, and the police were on it pretty quick. They spotted Mariah and Dom leaving the motel room on that security cam. And Abby and Devon rushed over to the motel, just missed them, but found Dom's little mitten lying on the ground beside the bed. I'm dying. This is just so sad. But at least everyone now knows that it's Mariah. At least the police now know who they're looking for. I do not know how Mariah is gonna get out of this. How is she not gonna do time over this? But then again, I mean, she wouldn't be the first character to crack and then go on to live a long soap opera life. Mother Sharon, I'm looking at you. In other kidnapping news, or maybe I should just say abduction. Abduction ruse. From kidnapping news to abduction ruse, The Young and the Restless. Victor has planned to abduct 3 grown adults. Lily and the kids. Does it drive anyone else crazy that we are referring to them as Lily and the kids? Like, it makes it sound as if the kids are toddlers. It's Lily and her 2 toddlers. Maddie and Charlie are in their 20s now. Yeah, I mean, it's not like Victor's security team needed to play hide and seek to lure them in or something. But then again, the plan is to just make it look like they're in danger so that Kane will come back to the bargaining table and hopefully just give Newman Enterprises right back to the Newmans. And Adam was the one who was in charge of setting it all up. Adam is the fixer. Victoria's jealous about it. Chelsea's on board with it. And Nikki said, I see your plan and I have ideas. I do like that a lot. I am glad that Nikki and Chelsea's connection came back into play this week. They bonded a little bit last week, and then this week it came back into play. And I think it was actually pretty cool to see Nikki and Chelsea and Adam at the ranch all together and on the same side. Nikki was asking Adam what it is that he and Victor are planning, and Adam said, no, I cannot betray my father's confidence. And Chelsea said, I can. That is fun, especially since Chelsea had just sworn to Adam that she wasn't gonna tell anything about his plan. But I loved that, and I loved how totally not offended Nikki was by it all. She said, I like your abduction idea, but let's bring Lily in on it. Nice idea. Nice thinking. She's learned a thing or two from being with Victor Newman all these years. So where do we go from here? I wonder if we are going to see Lily playing along, or if it's all just going to take place off screen, sight unseen. I don't know, but next week in the previews, Kane is running into Adam in the park saying that Victor has his family. So the trap has already been set. The question is, will Kane just hand everything right back to the Newmans? Or does he still have some cards to play? I must admit, I am loving Phyllis versus the Newmans, and especially Phyllis versus Victoria. Because we haven't gotten to see Victoria be this fierce in a long time. And thank goodness that Nate is there to calm her down. Maybe help her ease off some of that tension, you know. Might I suggest a massage or something? Oh. But Phyllis and Kane marching into Victor's office, declaring that it's their office now? Oh, that ain't gonna happen. They had the nerve to give Victor 1 week to vacate his office, which I actually think is quite generous. Since it is a hostile takeover, I almost would have imagined them just tossing Victor right out on his butt. Can you even imagine Victor's own security team having to come in and remove him from his chair, remove him from his office? That actually would have been a dramatic scene that I would have loved to see. I am loving the drama that this has created. I ultimately want Victor to gain back control of Newman Enterprises, of course, and I have no doubt that he will, but I just like this idea of Victor packing up his office. I think that's loads of fun, and it's different. But of course, it is not going to last. If the Newmans only have 1 week before getting tossed out, and the Lily plan is already in motion, then I imagine that Kane is going to cave soon, and then it'll all be over. But where does that leave Phyllis? Because Phyllis got the very same text message from Phantom Summer that Kane has been getting from Maddie and Charlie for all of these months. Don't call me anymore. And that's all very well, fine and good, but it's just more off-screen drama. The more important thing to me was that this week, Phyllis has officially burned the closest thing that she had to a friend. Even Sharon has turned on Phyllis. Of course, Sharon would side with Nick. You know, it would have been nice to see Sharon in the middle, at least a little bit. At least maybe a long conversation between Phyllis and Sharon, where Phyllis explained to Sharon where she was coming from, and maybe even where Sharon kind of understood, or at least could empathize. Ryan mentioned 2 weeks ago that Sharon tried to take over Newman Enterprises once with Tucker. So there would be plenty of context there for Sharon to have an actual conversation with Phyllis about this. But no, Phyllis remains one-dimensional in her motives. You know, this week I decided to put together a Y&R retro report, we'll call it, that I think you guys will find interesting and relevant. Does the name Marco Anicelli ring a bell for you? Because if Phyllis has any reason to hate Victor and to want revenge on him, it's because Victor replaced her husband Jack with a look-alike who turned out to be a South American drug lord, and she spent months sleeping with a man who used her husband's face to get her into bed, and it was all part of Victor Newman's plan. If you are interested in that little fascinating trip down memory lane, I put that video on my YouTube channel. It's YRChat. No, sorry, it's at youtube.com/YRChat, because I feel like Phyllis is doing a lot of talking around her issues with Victor right now, but she is not being specific enough. Phyllis actually does have a pretty big motive for wanting revenge on Victor, and Marco Anicelli is it. Is Jill dying? Billy said her heart is weakening. She can barely breathe. That does not sound like the kind of thing that you come back from. But then again, welcome to soaps. Next week, I'm sure she'll be running a marathon or something. Thank goodness she's got Snapper there to manage her medical care and also to field her phone calls. I don't know, isn't Snapper even older than Jill? He's probably got his own medical issues to worry about. But then again, Snapper is like forever frozen in my mind as 80s David Hasselhoff. He's probably still exactly the same age that he always was. Jill has gotten older, but Snapper's frozen in time. Oh, speaking of frozen in time, I loved those flashbacks of Billy and Jill, even though they were in black and white. Do you guys remember that whole wall of those gorgeous colored jars of liquid in the lab? Black and white now in the flashback. Why does Y&R keep doing this? Why are they robbing our memories of color? Stop it. I miss the lab. I love the lab. That's why I built my own lab in the Fauna and the Flora. Thank you very much. I also explored very similar relationships in the Fauna and the Flora through my characters, Jillian and William Abbott. Because I love a mother-son dynamic that is just bubbling with love and resentment. But those flashbacks were coming at exactly the right time, too. Because Jill was admitting to Billy that she wasn't a good mother. That she didn't have the maternal instinct. And yes, even that, John didn't want to be a father again. So she tricked him into having a baby anyway. What does that say? What does that do to you to know that information? Welcome to your life. I only had you to trap my husband. I didn't really want to be a mom. Sorry about that. And then there was the other scene that we saw where Jill was convincing Billy that Chancellor Industries should be his legacy. So there you have it. Jill is the one who planted that seed in his head. That is so important. Billy has lived in the shadow of the Abbott family his whole life. That the Jabot family company has a sense of belonging more to Jack and Ashley than anyone else, and then to him. Billy's always been the lower man on the totem pole just by simply of his birth order. And then we see this flashback scene this week where Jill is pumping him up that her legacy, the Chancellor legacy, should be the one that is his. And we saw in that flashback scene that he bought it. And he ran with it, and he never let it go. And now Kane is having the paperwork drawn up to transfer it to him. And it's all going to be right within his reach, just as it's snatched back away. Somebody better put Harrison in a cage or something, because the kidnappings are running rampant. We need to make sure to protect him too. You are not safe on this show right now. It actually doesn't matter if you're a child or an adult. You're not safe. Harrison's little stunt this week definitely should have landed him in timeout. Texting Kyle and Claire to come home immediately. They both flew through the door of the Abbott mansion at exactly the same time, expecting an emergency, and what they got was little Harrison sitting at his desk at the dining room table with his note cards and pens like the boss of the household that he is. Okay, it was kind of cute. I'm willing to forgive it. In reality, I would not, but for the leap of entertainment, I shall. Giving Claire and Kyle a matchmaking quiz to try to get them to see that they are made for each other. I mean, who needs a dating app when you've got this kid? I do feel the contest was rigged, though. Okay, I'm going on record right now. Pink cotton candy is not bubblegum flavored. Pink cotton candy is pink cotton candy flavored. Which is to say, there is no flavor. It's just cotton candy flavor. At best, you might be able to call it fruit flavor. Generalized fruit flavor. And the same goes for blue, too. So, just saying. I was not, however, surprised to learn that Kyle has a fear of tarantulas. They are terrifying. Apparently, tarantulas liquefy their prey, and I just so happened to learn that this week, right after the Claire-Kyle scene, and I'm telling you, that really helped me jump on board with Kyle's opinion on tarantulas. I actually loved and really appreciated Kyle's reaction to all of this as he explained it to Diane. Kyle said he feels lucky that he has a son who loves him and wants to be with him. And although Kyle does love Claire, he loves himself more. He knows who he is. And he's not the exciting party all night long at the club guy like Holden is, who she got a text from and then made up a lie and then hightailed out of there. But Kyle is in a point in his life where he knows he's ready to settle down. And he accepts that if that is not what Claire wants, then so be it. And I found that to just be so mature coming from Kyle. I love someone who knows what they want, whatever it is. And I accept that of characters. If they know what they want and they own it, I'm in. I'm absolutely in. And that applies to Claire too, by the way, because when Claire said months ago that she wanted to go out and sow her wild oats, I supported her. Because I think knowing who you are and knowing what you want is so important. But what does bother me now is that it seems like Claire doesn't fully know what she wants. Claire has had this fling with Holden, and she even admitted to Nikki this week that there is something about it that just doesn't feel quite right. And I think the fact that she left Harrison and Kyle when Holden texted, and she made up some excuse that her mother needed her, I just really feel like that says it all. I think Claire is using Holden as a way to avoid getting close with Kyle again. And I think it's because Kyle hurt her and she doesn't want to feel that way again. And in that way, it's completely understandable. But then I think Claire needs to stop sending mixed messages. I think she needs to really sit down and ask herself what she wants. She either wants Kyle or she doesn't. And he deserves to know either way. Even the fiercest of warriors need their strength. Who said it? Even the fiercest of warriors need their strength. If you think you know, you should go to yrchat.com and find out if you're right. Let's take a look at last week's poll question. I asked you guys, why in our kidnappings, love 'em or over 'em? No surprises here. 79% of you said over 'em. I guess there's a reason it has an acronym, YAK, yet another kidnapping. Well, I have to say, even though I agree with you and I voted over 'em, I do think it has given us some really great moments, specifically from Abby. T. Nicole says, it's soap world, so I know this is a drama story, but as a mom, I actually can feel Abby's intense reaction and worry about not finding Dominic. T. Nicole, I know, and you're a new mom too. Don't you have two little ones? And my daughter's, she's getting older, but I felt it. Even I felt it. I mean, I think my daughter's getting to a point where she's a little older and she's able to defend herself and be wise about decisions a little bit more. But like that fear never goes away. And I have to say, Melissa Ordway as Abby this week pushed my mom button. It made me feel visceral. And I'm so impressed with her. I mean, if nothing else comes from this kidnapping storyline, I have to say it gave Abby the moment to be the mother and to just really shine with her acting. Naomi says, Abby was so afraid and very frustrated with Devon's outward calm manner and was really lashing out at him. This made the scene so realistic for me. She finally told him she knew he was terrified, that he was as terrified as she was. Devon was facing the added weight of keeping his head while Abby broke down completely. This is a great example of a couple leaning on each other in this terrifying situation. The scene broke my heart, even though it's a yak. At least it made me care about what was happening on the screen. Thank you for bringing this up, Naomi, because you're right. I mean, Abby got all of the attention. She had the intense emotional reaction. But Devon was in the position of trying to keep calm and keep Abby calm and be supportive and appear like everything was okay. And it really showed two very different but very complementary reactions to the situation, and I was feeling it. I felt Abby and Devon being united. I felt both of their fear, but I also felt that moment where she was like, stop pretending, you know this is wrong too. And it's just, yeah, that was wonderful emotional storytelling right there, I will say. Sue W. also says, great point, Naomi, about them being simpatico. Abby and Devon, I find them very believable, tuned in, and a devoted couple. I wish Melissa Ordway would be back full time. She is such an intuitive actress who delivers both Abby's natural bubblehead nonsense or intuitive gut punch emotions. Regardless, I think the actress delivers relatability. Hashtag bring back Abby. It's Sue W, yes. It's so ironic too, because as I was putting together the Marco Annicelli retro report this week, I had to go back through that whole storyline in which Abby was involved, and there was the cabin murders and everything. And as I was watching the old YNR chats, I remembered how much I did not like Abby. When Melissa Ordway first started on the show, I had such a hard time tolerating her. I think part of it was because I really liked Marcy Ryland. I liked the previous Abby a lot, and so I just wasn't able to switch quite as quickly. But it's amazing to contrast that with where we are this week, and I'm singing her praises, and not only am I loving her, but I'm wanting more of her. I hope that maybe this is the beginning of a fan initiative, maybe the beginning of YNR seeing that we need more Abby on the screen. I don't know if she had the time off and she was just like refreshed and ready to dig in, but like it was extra. It wasn't just grief. It was believable grief. I mean, the pitches that her voice was hitting, the way she was burying herself in Devon's arms, it just was so incredibly intense and emotional and believable. Thank you, Melissa Ordway. I mean, in a week where it's like, ugh, kidnapping, at the same time, I'm saying thank you, Melissa Ordway. Russell says, Mariah was speeding down that snowy back road way too fast. How could Dom see a yellow line? I couldn't. Not only has Mariah lost her mind, but she's a reckless driver too. How's she keeping control of the car? Russell, I'm glad you said that, because I had a similar thought as Dom said the color yellow. We'd been looking out the back window of the car the whole time. I'm like, yellow? That road is completely covered in snow. There's no way he could even see the yellow line. Yeah, she was driving fast down an extremely snowy road. No yellow line, period. Steven says, passed by a patrol car. Genoa City PD alerts on donut break. In a real-world child abduction case, even missing the motel plate wouldn't slow anyone down. Modern police don't even need plates. Vehicle fingerprint tracks, make, color, dents, roof racks, and traffic cams, plus business CCTV, would triangulate Mariah's route in minutes, basically turning her car into a moving QR code. The second that mitten ties to the car and the plates hit NCIC, every ALPR cruiser from Wisconsin to Illinois lights up like a Christmas tree. Alert chimes blow the officer's ears off, triggering an immediate U-turn with lights blazing. Instead, Genoa City PD treats it like it's 1998, casually passing her while calling in for an emergency donut break, because GCPD still solves crimes by fax. Still solves crimes by fax. Oh, Stephen, that is really good. You're right. I mean, the police today don't take no chances when it comes to child abduction. That is, I mean, that's one of the wonderful things, that modern technology has done for us. I mean, it definitely used to be what we're seeing on screen right now. And now we're just living in a totally different technological place to where, yeah, this wouldn't even be possible. I do want to ask you guys as a poll question for the week. Do you want to see Mariah go to prison for this? It is really difficult because we all know that we're living in soap land. And so we do have these leaps of logic. We understand that, the GCPD still solves crimes by facts. But at the same time, it's so horrendous. And watching her as a character that I've liked so much over the years, watching her do this, it's so icky. It makes me want her to go to jail. I want to see her behind bars from this. I mean, contrasting Abby's grief with what Mariah is actually doing just makes me want her to be locked away. I need the satisfaction of seeing her behind bars for doing this. But at the same time, it is a soap. So I do kind of wonder, as a poll question for the week at yrchat.com, do you want to see Mariah go to prison for this? Or would you rather just maybe send her back to the mental institution temporarily? I mean, we've already been there. We've already done that. I'm sure that the fact of the matter is she's mentally ill. We see it now. We understand it. And does that excuse it in any way? Does she deserve to do hard time even though we are of an understanding that she is mentally ill? I don't know. Why don't you go to YR Chat this week and weigh in on what you think the repercussions for Mariah should be. Sharon W says, I love, love, love Ian Ward. And as I said before, Ian and Mariah together are both masterful with the delivery of their shared scenes. He is such a bad person, even though he's often quoting scripture, and has the skill to hint to advise, and to convince Mariah to agree with his own bad thoughts. Then he's able to coax her ever so slowly to engage in his plans. Mariah, on the other hand, shows mental restraint at agreeing with Ian or even wanting to listen to his plans out loud in her mind. Then her entire persona changes when she pauses and decides to follow through with Ian's gruesome ideas. Yes, Sharon W., I do enjoy the Ian Ward character, and there is something just extra sinister about the minister. He's the sinister minister in his garb, quoting scripture, always has his Bible right there under his arm. And there is just something about that dichotomy, that contrast of a priest giving advice that is so unholy that I think really makes for an effective villain. And it's a role that Ray Weiss just plays so well. Daisy says, I think Mariah is being drugged by Ian, and he's feeding her all of these scenarios and lies. I think what he's doing to Mariah is the same or similar to what he and Aunt Jordan did to Sharon, drugged and manipulated. So I don't think she's in her right mind. I still hope Sharon will figure it all out and rescue Mariah before things get worse. Yes, we're also right on the precipice here of maybe finding out whether Ian is alive or not. On the surface, it certainly looks like he's not alive and it's all in her head. We did see the scene where he's in the car and then I think Dom wakes up and he's gone from the car. But I mean, Daisy, you're making a good point. If he could feasibly still be alive and drugging her and he's actually there part of the time and he's not there part of the time, we don't really know. I have always leaned toward thinking that he was actually dead and that this was all in Mariah's mind, much like, as you mentioned, Sharon's situation with Cameron Kirsten. He wasn't really alive. We always had a sense that he was dead and in her head. I think this is similar to that, but we'll see, and maybe we'll find out. Tina Cole says, at first I thought Ian Ward could have been real, but now I feel he must be in Mariah's head. I still need more of an explanation as to why she needs to kidnap Dominic. Once it's revealed that she did, how can Tessa not feel like she picked Dominic Bowie over Aria? Yeah, I mean, there's going to be no making sense of it. For Tessa, maybe Sharon would have the ability to make most sense of it, since she's been through something similar and not that long ago. But yeah, there will be no rationalizing. There is no really rationalizing. It doesn't really make any sense. I do still feel stuck on the fact that this story is 4 lines too late, or 4 years too late. The storyline is 4 years too late. I would have rather seen this come up 4 years ago. That being said, Y&R is definitely giving us all the flashbacks to say, hey, no, this isn't totally out of nowhere. We got, we laid the groundwork for it. But to me, I just think they laid the groundwork, let it sit there for 4 years, and now they're just bringing it up out of the wherever ether, which I guess it's just a personal preference as to whether or not you want to accept that. I feel annoyed that we spent all of these months building up Mariah's story as it pertained to the guy she almost murdered in the hotel room. That's what I was looking for some resolution on, and it feels like a little bit of a deception that Y&R kind of ripped that rug out and then just switched over to this thing instead. So that's what feels unresolved still to me. Victoria says, what a revelation for Tessa today. I could see her brain spinning, trying to say, no, not Mariah. It would be devastating to realize that someone you loved had fallen so far and there wouldn't be anything you could do to help. Now Tessa has the terrible job of giving Sharon the news. Sharon is going to feel so guilty that she did not go and see Mariah when she called. I mean, yes, certainly Sharon had some other things to deal with, but you're absolutely right. Sharon had a fork in the road moment where she chose to stay with Noah in the hospital instead of going to see Mariah in the hospital. But I'm not sure that Sharon's participation in this would have really changed Mariah's trajectory. Mariah made it very clear that she was willing to shut out anyone who was not telling her what she wanted to hear. She did that to Tessa, and she had said it specifically to Sharon. She had said, if I have to disconnect from you, I will. That is what she said. So I think that Sharon is going to feel guilty. I think Tessa is going to feel guilty, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's anything either of them could have done to prevent it. Russell says, I hope Phyllis and Sharon's friendship isn't over. I see now it would be rocky, but I wanted much more from them as friends than we've seen so far. Yeah, I agree. Also, Russell says, extra alert. I loved the extras that were reacting to Phyllis, Nick, and Sharon's public argument. The regular folk of GC must think those high society types are completely crazy and dysfunctional. It's great when they show it. Yeah, the extras have been extra good lately, I would say, because I noticed that too, and it adds to the believability. Sharon and Nick and Phyllis were having this argument in the middle of the athletic club, and the extras were understandably reacting to the raised voices. Of course you would. That seems like a little bit of a new directive within the show. The extras in the past were just part of the background canvas. Now they're actually immersed in the scene, and I do appreciate that little detail. Victoria says, Victoria's beatdown of Phyllis was impressive. Victoria was able to get out much of her frustration with the state of affairs with Newman. Victoria should also give this beatdown to her dad and Kane. Victor needs to own his ill-conceived plans for everyone in GC. Victor also needs to realize that he is not infallible and his actions affect the family. Yes, Victoria, I said this last week as well. I think that they're in this hot water because of Victor and his decisions. And I think that some attention should be paid to that. Brent says, hopelessly Team Newman here. I know it's a character flaw, but TGVN is why I got hooked on the show to begin with. But the writers are setting Phyllis and Cain for the most glorious downfall as the Newmans' hands. At the Newman hands. It's going to be so satisfying. I can't wait. Yes, Brent, I know, but he's the reason I started watching the show too. Yeah. And it's definitely frustrating when they villainize it, when he's so obviously villainized. I like Victor as the hero. That's where I like my Victor Newman. And yet this is not it. He definitely brought some of this on himself. And then again, I have to say, looking back at that Marco storyline, that was one of, and going back through past Y&R chats, that was the first time, and I said this multiple times in 2015 when that story was airing, that the whole Marco thing was the very first time that Victor Newman was ever presented to me as a villain. I always had seen him as the hero of the show, but that period was the first time in my watching that he was ever a villain. Now again, I started in 93, and I know there was a lot of Victor that was before that, but yeah, that to me, I like Victor as the hero, and I'd like Victor to win, and I'd like Newman Enterprises to be returned. Connie says, Eric Braden did it again. I went from being furious with Victor to feeling sorry for him. That silent hug scene with Victoria, and then the painful expression and pitiful look when he spoke about surrender, was so authentic and powerful. Yes, and not to mention we were back in the office this week, which I really liked, and him looking at his own portrait. Yes, I mean, those are the buttons that Y&R knows how to push. Russell says, if Victor is going to detain Lily, Maddie, and Charlie and make it appear that they're in danger to try to bring Cain to his knees, why stop there? Go ahead and nab Daniel, Lucy, Summer, and Harrison to control Phyllis. I'm very surprised that Chelsea and Nikki are on board with this cockamamie plan to isolate Lily and her kids. It is reminiscent of Nice and that poorly executed plan with 3 gunshot deaths. If they use Lily like that without her consent, she will be beyond outraged and feel like a Newman pawn yet again. Yeah, and Gary adds, how are they going to bring Lily into the plan when she is off on maternity leave for 3 months and the twins are reduced to off-screen characters? That is such a good question, Gary, because either there's going to be some time trick magic where Crystal Cleo she's already back on screen and they just filmed all of this in advance, or it's just going to be very, very quickly resolved off screen, and that's where my bet would go. Diana says, why would Lily even care about Newman Enterprises? Did she forget about that also? Not long ago, Lily was livid with Nikki and Victor after they duped her and played her like a fool. Now we're to believe that she and the kids have so much loyalty to the Newmans? Shouldn't Lily feel like karma has happened, not pity for them? Also, feel like this has to be mentioned again. Lily is a felon. That didn't bother the kids when their mother went to prison for years for vehicular homicide, but their dad is becoming a billionaire is apparently where they draw the line. Yes, the Maddie Charlie ridiculousness of it all. Oh, T. Nicole says, I like that Kyle wants a settled down life, but I do hope he puts his foot down with Claire if he feels like she's stringing him along. I completely understand that Claire is not ready for a relationship that it's moving too quick, such as living together or getting married, but I do think she needs to be decisive and pick Holden, Kyle, or no one. On a side note of prediction, maybe Kyle and Claire will have a one-night stand, but she will again push back on committing to Kyle, and then Summer comes back into town and she's more willing to settle down with Kyle and be a family with Harrison, and just then that's when Claire will find out she's pregnant and not sure if it's Kyle or Holden, but of course Kyle will be the dad. I love that, T. Nicole. I love that especially because it brings Summer back onto the canvas. We need a Summer. I'm just going to say this every week until it happens. Oh, Russell mentioned that we got some jazzy new music on the show this week. I noticed that too, Russell. But also says, is it me or does it feel like we're starting to get more sets again? I can't begin to tell you how happy I am about that. We got to see the Chancellor Mansion with Abby and Devon, Newman Enterprises, and the Chancellor Park Cafe. Also, that little scene last week of Victor punching the punching bag, they're all small touches that we've been missing from the show. I love all of our main sets, like the GCAC and Crimson Lights, but I also want to see characters in their own homes, too. I hope it continues. Yes, Russell, I completely agree. I mean, just all on its own. Seeing the Chance Manch again felt like a breath of fresh air. Even if we had to kidnap a kid to get it. I have got to share with you this review from Victoria about the Fauna and the Flora. It's just so good and so thoughtful and so well written. I know you guys are going to love this. Here it is. The title is Where Drama and Fun Can Be Found. Mistaken identity, betrayal, and corporate takeover attempts are just a few of the compelling storylines in the Fauna and the Flora. Who knew a soap opera novel was just what I needed? Based on the ever-popular Young and Restless, the reader is able to begin a new relationship with beloved characters. Chancellor is as regal as ever and pivotal to the unfolding story. John Abbott is wise and thoughtful. Even the Colonel is back with an intriguing piece of information. Also, the reader gets to explore 2 new worlds in rural Southbrook and thriving Chenoa City. Both hold drama and possibilities. If you are looking for a fun, new, imagined genre, this book is for you. Find a quiet place, put your feet up, and get ready to follow the residents of Southbrook and Chenoa City as their triumphs and disasters unfold. Victoria, thank you. That was so good, so well written, and it just touches my heart so much just to know that you were there in my world. Thank you, thank you. I knew that you were going to be a beautiful part of it. You're a part of it now. Thank you so much for that wonderful, wonderful review. It just means so much to me. It truly was a labor of love. Thank you, thank you. Tons of videos over on my Restless Forest Books YouTube channel, by the way. I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to do the read along, but even if you've already finished the book, you can go act by act and discuss the Fauna and the Flora with me. There's just a ton there. It's at Restless Forest Books everywhere if you have a little bit of extra time this week. Also at YR Chat YouTube, I have that Marco video that's brand new for the week, and I think that was a really intriguing storyline. Classic Victor versus Jack, but so much more than that. The Marco Anicelli storyline really became something that was, it was more than the rivalry. It was a full-on crime thriller. It had threads. It was infuriating. So if you have some spare time this week, be sure to go check that out. And as always, yrchat.com is there waiting for you with polls, the Who Said It quote, tons of beautiful photos of the show, and of course, the most important thing, the chatters. The conversations that are there at yrchat.com are deep and thoughtful, and really, I can't tell you how much I appreciate reading those. So thank you everybody so much for participating in my little worlds. I love you, and I will see you next Sunday. Thanks, guys. Bye.